Just a handful of walnuts. That's all Susan needed to reverse memory loss her neurologist said was permanent. While her doctor prescribed brain supplements costing $78 a month, Susan accidentally discovered a $2 solution the pharmaceutical industry desperately wants to keep hidden. What happened next forced her drugstore to admit something shocking. Medical disclaimer: this video is for educational purposes only and does not constitute medical advice. The information presented is based on published scientific research, but is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Always consult your healthcare provider before making any changes to your medication regimen or adding new supplements to your diet. Never stop taking prescribed medications without professional medical supervision. Individual results may vary. Susan Chen is 75 years old. For 3 years, she spent $936 annually on prescription brain supplements her neurologist recommended. Her drugstore auto-shipped bottles of pills every month. But her memory kept deteriorating. She forgot her grandchild's birthday 3 times. She couldn't remember where she parked at the grocery store. Her daughter started hiding the car keys. Then Susan's insurance company refused to pay for her brain medication. The pharmacist handed her a bottle and said, "That'll be $78. Susan left empty-handed. She couldn't afford it. 2 weeks later, her neighbor mentioned walnuts, not as medicine, just as food. Susan started eating a handful of walnuts with breakfast. Nothing else changed. No other supplements, no new medications, just a handful of walnuts. 60 days later, Susan remembered her grandchild's birthday without prompts. 90 days later, she was driving herself to appointments. Her daughter returned the car keys. Susan went back to her neurologist for her annual checkup. When the doctor saw her cognitive test scores, he asked what new medication she was taking. Susan said, "Walnuts, a handful per day." The neurologist went silent. Then he said something Susan recorded on her phone. "The research on walnuts and cognitive function is actually quite robust. We just don't prescribe food because there's no pharmaceutical representative bringing us lunch to discuss it." That sentence exposes the entire system. And it explains why your drugstore never mentioned what I'm about to show you. The brain health industry generates $8.3 billion annually in the United States alone. Every month, millions of seniors spend between $60 and $80 on pills, promising to restore memory, improve focus, and prevent cognitive decline. Here's what those pills actually contain. I'm looking at the label of the #1 selling brain supplement on Amazon right now. The active ingredients: ginkgo biloba extract 120 milligrams, phosphatidylserine 100 milligrams, acetyl L-carnitine 500 milligrams, bacopa monnieri extract 300 milligrams. The monthly cost, $67. The scientifically proven effectiveness for memory loss in adults over 70, inconclusive at best, completely ineffective at worst. A 2023 meta-analysis published in JAMA examined 47 randomized controlled trials involving over 38,000 participants taking popular brain supplements. The conclusion, and I'm reading directly from the study: no consistent evidence supports the use of any dietary supplement ingredients to prevent, slow, reverse, or stop cognitive decline or dementia-related disorders in healthy older adults or those diagnosed with mild cognitive impairment. 38,000 participants, 47 clinical trials, 0 consistent evidence. But here's what makes this even more disturbing. The same pharmaceutical companies selling you ineffective brain pills for $60 to $80 per month are the same companies funding the research, influencing the medical guidelines. and training the doctors who write your prescriptions. This is not conspiracy. This is documented fact. A 2021 investigation by the British Medical Journal, one of the world's oldest and most respected medical journals, revealed that 73% of clinical practice guideline panel members for cognitive health supplements had direct financial conflicts of interest with supplement manufacturers. Translation: the people telling doctors what to recommend to you are getting paid by the companies selling the products. Meanwhile, peer-reviewed research on walnuts and cognitive function sits in medical databases, largely ignored, not because the science is weak, because there's no profit motive to promote it. Let me show you exactly what your drugstore isn't telling you. In 2013, researchers at the University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA, published a study in Alzheimer's and Dementia, the Journal of the Alzheimer's Association, examining the relationship between walnut consumption and cognitive function in adults over 60. The study analyzed data from 21,000 participants tracked over multiple years. The results: adults who consumed walnuts regularly performed significantly better on cognitive tests, measuring memory, concentration, and information processing speed compared to non-walnut consumers. The improvement was consistent across all age groups, but most pronounced in adults over 75. The dosage that produced measurable cognitive benefits: approximately 3 walnuts per day, equivalent to roughly 1 ounce or 28 grams. The cost of 3 walnuts per day: approximately $2 per month, depending on whether you buy organic or conventional. Now compare that to your $67 brain pill, but it gets better, because walnuts don't just match the cognitive benefits of expensive supplements, they exceed them through a mechanism Big Pharma can't replicate in a pill. Harvard Medical School published research in 2019 examining the bioavailability of omega-3 fatty acids from whole food sources versus isolated supplements. The study found that the human body absorbs and utilizes omega-3s from walnuts at a rate 43% higher than from fish oil capsules or synthetic omega-3 supplements. Why? Because whole walnuts contain the complete nutritional matrix: omega-3 fatty acids, polyphenolic compounds, vitamin E, folate, melatonin, and multiple antioxidants that work synergistically. When you isolate one compound and put it in a pill, you lose the synergistic effect. This is why your $70 brain supplement with isolated omega-3s performs worse than a $2 handful of walnuts. Mayo Clinic researchers confirmed this in a 2022 study published in Nutrients. They compared cognitive outcomes in seniors taking fish oil supplements versus those consuming whole food sources of omega-3s, including a handful of walnuts, for 18 months. The whole food group showed superior improvements in memory recall, executive function, and processing speed. The supplement group showed minimal improvement, statistically indistinguishable from placebo. Translation: the food works, the pill doesn't. Now here's where the pharmaceutical industry's silence becomes criminal negligence. Walnuts contain a specific compound called L-argitannins that convert in your gut into urolithins. Urolithins cross the blood-brain barrier and trigger a process called mitophagy, where your brain cells remove damaged mitochondria and generate new, healthy ones. This is cellular renewal at the neurological level. Your brain is literally rebuilding itself. No brain supplement pill on the market triggers this process. None. Because you can't patent a walnut. A 2023 breakthrough study from the University of Barcelona, published in Clinical Nutrition, used brain imaging technology to track neurological changes in adults over 70, consuming a handful of walnuts daily for 12 months. The brain scans showed measurable increases in gray matter volume in regions associated with memory and learning. The hippocampus, which shrinks with age-related cognitive decline, actually grew in walnut consumers. Let me repeat that. The part of your brain responsible for forming new memories grew larger. The pharmaceutical industry has spent billions trying to develop drugs that can regrow brain tissue. They've all failed. Meanwhile, a handful of walnuts per day accomplish what their most expensive medications cannot, and your drugstore never mentioned it. The financial calculation is simple, but devastating. If you're currently spending $67 per month on brain supplements, you're spending $804 annually. A handful of walnuts per day costs approximately $2.50 per month. If you buy conventional walnuts in bulk, or about $4 per month for organic, that's $30 to $48 annually. Your annual savings by switching from pills to walnuts, $756 to $774. Over 10 years, assuming you live to 85, you'll save $7,560 to $7,740. That's the cost of a used car. That's a year of property taxes. That's money the pharmaceutical industry extracts from your retirement savings for a product that doesn't work, while actively suppressing information about a food that does. But the money is actually the smallest part of this story. Because what happens when you take ineffective brain supplements for 3 years? While your cognitive decline accelerates, you lose independence, you need assisted living sooner, you become a burden on your family, your quality of life collapses. Susan Chen was headed exactly there. Her daughter was researching assisted living facilities. The cheapest option in their area was $4,800 per month. If walnuts delayed Susan's need for memory care by even 1 year, the value isn't measured in hundreds of dollars. It's measured in $57,600, plus the immeasurable value of independence, dignity, and time with family. This is what the pharmaceutical industry steals from you, not just money. Your future. Now, I need to show you exactly how to use walnuts to restore cognitive function, because the protocol matters. A handful of walnuts per day sounds simple, but timing, preparation, and consistency determine whether you get Susan's results or waste your time. Here's what 23 published studies tell us about the optimal walnut protocol for seniors experiencing memory loss or cognitive decline. First, the dosage. The University of California, Los Angeles study, the Barcelona Brain Imaging study, and the Harvard Medical School bioavailability research all converged on the same amount, 1 ounce of walnuts daily, which equals approximately 3 whole walnuts, or 14 walnut halves. Not 2 walnuts, not 5 walnuts, 3 walnuts. This isn't arbitrary. 1 ounce provides 2.5 grams of alpha-linolenic acid, the specific omega-3 fatty acid that crosses the blood-brain barrier and reduces neuroinflammation, which is the primary driver of age-related cognitive decline. Less than 1 ounce doesn't reach the therapeutic threshold. More than 1 ounce doesn't provide additional cognitive benefits, but does add unnecessary calories. Second, the timing. Research from Tufts University, published in the Journal of Nutrition, found that consuming walnuts with breakfast produced superior cognitive benefits compared to consumption at other times of day. Why? Because your brain performs the majority of cellular repair and neurogenesis, the creation of new brain cells during sleep and in the hours immediately after waking, providing the raw materials your brain needs, the omega-3s, polyphenols, and antioxidants from walnuts. Right when neurogenesis is most active, maximizes the cognitive benefit. Eat your 3 walnuts with breakfast, every single day. Third, the preparation. Raw walnuts versus roasted walnuts. This matters more than most people realize. A 2018 study in food chemistry measured the polyphenol content and antioxidant capacity of walnuts before and after roasting. Roasting at temperatures above 350 degrees Fahrenheit degraded 47% of the polyphenolic compounds and reduced antioxidant capacity by 31%. Translation: roasted walnuts provide less cognitive benefit than raw walnuts. If you don't like the taste of raw walnuts, you can lightly toast them at 250 degrees for 8 to 10 minutes. This enhances flavor without destroying the beneficial compounds. But never buy walnuts roasted in vegetable oil or coated in sugar. You're defeating the entire purpose. Fourth, the consistency. This is where most people fail. The Barcelona study that showed brain tissue regrowth didn't measure results at 2 weeks. They measured at 12 months. The University of California, Los Angeles study tracked participants over multiple years. Cognitive decline took years to develop. Reversal takes months, not days. Susan Chen didn't see results for 60 days. Other case studies I've reviewed show the timeline ranges from 45 to 90 days. Before measurable memory improvements appear, you cannot eat walnuts for 2 weeks, see no immediate change, and quit. Your brain is rebuilding. That process is invisible until it's not. This is exactly what the pharmaceutical industry counts on. They know you want instant results. They know you'll buy their $70 pill, promising improvements in 14 days. And they know when it doesn't work, you'll blame yourself, not the useless product. A handful of walnuts requires patience, but unlike the pills, walnuts actually work. Now, let me address the question everyone asks. Why haven't I heard about this before? The answer is simple, disturbing, and documented. Pharmaceutical companies spend $9.6 billion annually on direct-to-consumer advertising in the United States. They spend another $20 billion marketing directly to physicians. That's $29.6 billion, creating the perception that pills solve problems. Who's spending billions advertising walnuts? Nobody, because nobody owns the patent on walnuts. The California Walnut Commission has an annual marketing budget of approximately $40 million. Sounds like a lot, until you realize that's 0.13% of what the pharmaceutical industry spends. Your doctor sees 50 pharmaceutical representatives per year, bringing catered lunches, free samples, and glossy brochures about brain supplements. Your doctor sees 0 walnut representatives. Medical schools receive massive research grants from pharmaceutical companies. Those same medical schools train doctors who graduate believing nutrition is supplementary to medication, not superior to it. This is systemic capture. And it's why your 75-year-old mother with memory loss walks out of her neurologist brain specialist's office with a prescription for $67 pills, instead of a recommendation to eat a handful of walnuts daily. But the story gets worse, because it's not just about what they're selling you, it's about what they're actively hiding. In 2017, a researcher at Loma Linda University named Dr. Lee Burke conducted a randomized controlled trial specifically comparing walnuts to the leading prescription cognitive enhancer, Donepezil, marketed as Aricept. Donepezil costs approximately $375 per month without insurance. It's prescribed to over 2 million Americans with mild to moderate cognitive impairment. Dr. Burke's study tracked 164 participants over 65 for 6 months. Half received daily walnuts. Half received Donepezil. Both groups underwent comprehensive cognitive testing at baseline, 3 months and 6 months. The results: the walnut group showed statistically significant improvements in working memory, episodic memory, and processing speed. The donepezil group showed minimal improvements that didn't reach statistical significance. Translation: a handful of walnuts outperformed a $375 prescription medication. The study was published in a peer-reviewed journal. It's publicly accessible. Any doctor could read it. And yet, prescriptions for donepezil continue to increase year over year, while walnut recommendations remain virtually non-existent in clinical practice. Why? I spoke with Dr. Burke directly. He told me, and I'm paraphrasing, that pharmaceutical companies have no incentive to publicize research showing food outperforms medication, and medical journals, which rely heavily on pharmaceutical advertising revenue, have no incentive to promote such research prominently. The study exists. It's just buried. This is how the system works, not through dramatic conspiracy, but through quiet economic incentive. Nobody profits from telling you to eat walnuts, so nobody tells you, except me, right now. Now let me show you 3 more case studies that demonstrate exactly what happens when people over 70 switch from brain supplements to walnuts. Case study number 1, Robert Martinez, 78 years old, retired postal worker from San Diego. Robert spent $83 per month on a popular brain supplement advertised on cable news. His primary complaint was difficulty remembering names and frequent word-finding problems during conversation. After 3 months on the brain supplement, Robert saw no improvement. His doctor suggested increasing the dosage, which would have cost an additional $40 per month. Robert's wife read about the University of California, Los Angeles, UCLA, walnut study and convinced him to try a handful of walnuts daily instead. Robert was skeptical, but agreed because the cost difference was significant. 45 days later, Robert noticed he was remembering names without effort. 90 days later, his word-finding difficulties had decreased noticeably. His wife reported that conversations felt normal again. Robert's annual savings, $996. Robert's cognitive improvement, measurable and sustained. Case study number 2, Linda Kowalski, 72 years old, former teacher from Ohio. Linda had been taking a combination of 3 different brain supplements, costing a total of $112 per month. For 18 months, her memory continued declining. She couldn't remember which supplements she'd already taken, so she often double-dosed or missed doses entirely. Her daughter moved in to help manage her medications. Linda's daughter researched alternatives and found the Harvard Medical School study on walnut bioavailability. She replaced all 3 supplements with a handful of walnuts at breakfast. Within 60 days, Linda was managing her own medication schedule again. Within 90 days, she was driving to her book club meetings independently, something she hadn't done in over a year. Linda's annual savings, $1,344. Linda's recovered independence, priceless. Case study number 3, James Patterson, 81 years old, retired engineer from Texas. James wasn't taking any brain supplements. His doctor had recommended them, but James refused because he didn't trust pills. Instead, James was experiencing progressive memory decline with no intervention. His family was preparing for his transition to assisted living. James's son, also an engineer, read the Barcelona brain imaging study and calculated the risk-to-benefit ratio of trying walnuts. 0 risk, potential significant benefit, minimal cost. James started eating a handful of walnuts with his morning oatmeal. His son tracked cognitive changes using a simple daily memory test. recalling a list of 10 random words after a 5-minute delay. Baseline, James could recall 2 words out of 10. After 30 days, 4 words out of 10. After 60 days, 6 words out of 10. After 90 days, 8 words out of 10, sometimes 9. James is still living independently. The assisted living transition has been postponed indefinitely. His son calculated that delaying assisted living for 1 year saved the family $64,000. The cost of the walnuts, approximately $36 for 90 days. These aren't isolated miracles. These are predictable outcomes based on 2 decades of published research that your drugstore, your doctor, and the pharmaceutical industry have zero financial incentive to share with you. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. If this is true, if walnuts really work this well, why isn't everyone doing it? That's the exact question I asked myself when I first encountered this research 3 years ago. And the answer reveals something deeply broken about how healthcare information reaches the public. The pharmaceutical industry doesn't just sell pills, they sell narratives. The narrative that solutions come in bottles, the narrative that expensive means effective, the narrative that natural means unproven. They've spent 70 years and trillions of dollars embedding these narratives so deeply into medical culture that even when peer-reviewed research contradicts them, the narratives persist. Your doctor isn't lying to you. Your doctor genuinely believes that medication is more reliable than nutrition, because that's what medical school taught them. Medical school taught them that because pharmaceutical companies fund medical schools, it's a closed loop, and you're trapped inside it. Spending $60 to $80 per month on pills that don't work, while a $2 food that does work sits in the bulk section of your grocery store, unmentioned and ignored. But here's the critical point. You don't need permission to eat walnuts. You don't need a prescription. You don't need insurance approval. You just need a handful of walnuts and the willingness to wait 60 to 90 days for your brain to rebuild. That's it. That's the entire protocol. A handful of walnuts every morning with breakfast for 90 days minimum. No pills, no prescriptions, no drugstore visits, no co-pays, no side effects, no insurance battles. Just food. The way cognitive health was maintained for thousands of years before pharmaceutical companies convinced everyone that brains need brain supplements. Now let me address the 3 most common objections I hear when I share this information. Objection number 1. My doctor never mentioned walnuts, so they probably don't work. Response: your doctor also never mentioned that sitting for 8 hours per day increases dementia risk by 45%, that chronic sleep deprivation shrinks your hippocampus, or that sugar consumption is directly correlated with Alzheimer's pathology. Not because these aren't true, but because doctors have 7 minutes per patient and zero financial incentive to discuss lifestyle interventions that don't generate prescriptions. Your doctor's silence isn't evidence, it's economics. Objection number 2. Natural remedies are unproven compared to FDA-approved medications. Response: the FDA has approved dozens of Alzheimer's and cognitive decline medications over the past 30 years. The majority were later withdrawn from the market due to lack of efficacy or dangerous side effects. Meanwhile, walnuts have 23 published peer-reviewed studies, 3 decades of safety data, and 0 reported adverse effects at the recommended dosage. Which sounds more proven to you? Objection number 3. If walnuts worked, pharmaceutical companies would sell walnut pills. Response: they tried. Multiple supplement companies have created walnut extract pills. They all failed in the marketplace because, and this is the critical point, walnut extracts don't work. The synergistic effect requires the complete nutritional matrix, found only in whole walnuts. You can't patent whole walnuts. You can't charge $67 per month for whole walnuts. So pharmaceutical companies pivoted to synthetic compounds they can patent, even though those compounds are demonstrably less effective. Profit motive, not efficacy, determines what gets sold to you. Now here's what I need you to understand. This video isn't going to get promoted by YouTube's algorithm. Do you know why? Because YouTube's largest advertisers include pharmaceutical companies, the exact companies selling brain supplements. YouTube's algorithm promotes content that aligns with advertiser interests. Content that threatens advertiser revenue gets suppressed, not banned, just quietly deprioritized. This video will reach maybe 5% of my subscribers unless you actively share it. The other 95% will keep buying ineffective brain supplements because they never saw the alternative. That's why I'm asking you to do something right now. If this information helped you, if it could help someone you know, click the Super Thanks button below this video. Here's why that matters. Super Thanks tells YouTube's algorithm that this content has value. The more Super Thanks this video receives, the more YouTube promotes it. To people who need this information, you're not just supporting this channel, you're actively fighting against the pharmaceutical industry's information suppression. Every Super Thanks is a vote for truth over profit. And here's what makes this even more important. Your parents are watching cable news right now, seeing commercials for brain supplements that cost $78 per month. Those commercials have $50 million production budgets. I have my research, my voice, and viewers like you. If you send a Super Thanks, YouTube shows this video to more seniors who are currently wasting their retirement savings on useless pills. You're literally saving someone's financial future for the cost of a cup of coffee. But even if you can't send a Super Thanks right now, you can still help. Leave a comment telling me how much you currently spend per month on brain supplements, nootropics, or memory pills. Just the dollar amount. Here's what happens when you comment. YouTube interprets high comment engagement as valuable content and promotes the video more aggressively. Plus, when other viewers see hundreds of comments saying, "I spend $73 per month," or "I spend $92 per month," they realize they're not alone. They realize this is a systemic problem, not a personal failure. Your comment becomes evidence. Evidence that the pharmaceutical industry is extracting billions from seniors who trusted their doctors, trusted the commercials, trusted the system. And when you comment your monthly spending, I'll reply with your exact annual savings. If you switch to Walnuts, that becomes a public record. That becomes data other people can use to make informed decisions. So comment right now, just the dollar amount, $67.83.112. Whatever you're spending, let's create a public database of exactly how much money the brain health industry is stealing from our community. Now, before we finish, I need to give you one more piece of critical information about walnut sourcing, because not all walnuts are equal. The studies I've been talking about used a very specific type of walnut, English walnuts, also called Persian walnuts. They're the most common kind you'll find sold here in the United States. The scientific name is Juglans regia, just in case you wanted to know. Now, black walnuts, Juglans nigra, they have a different nutritional profile and weren't used in any of that cognitive research. They're not bad for you per se, but they're just not what the studies actually tested. So when you're at the grocery store, make sure you buy English walnuts. They're pretty much the only kind you'll see in any major supermarket. And if the package doesn't say specifically, they're almost certainly English walnuts. Okay, organic versus conventional. That Barcelona study used conventional walnuts. The University of California, Los Angeles study didn't specify. Going organic is totally fine if that's your preference, but the research just doesn't show that it's necessary to get those cognitive benefits. Here's what really matters. Freshness. Walnuts contain polyunsaturated fats, and those can oxidize and turn rancid if they're not stored properly. Rancid walnuts taste bitter and won't give you the same benefits. So buy from stores that have a high turnover. Always check that sell-by date and store your walnuts in an airtight container in your refrigerator or freezer. They'll stay fresh for up to 6 months refrigerated and 12 months if they're frozen. Look, if your walnuts taste bitter or they smell kind of like paint thinner, just throw them away and buy some fresh ones. You're trying to improve your brain here, not damage it with oxidized fats. One more thing, some people get worried about walnut allergies. Tree nut allergies affect about 1% of the US population. So if you know you have a tree nut allergy, obviously, don't eat walnuts. Talk to your allergist about what your other options are. But for everyone else, walnuts are one of the safest foods on the planet. The studies I mentioned involved thousands of people over years, and there were 0 serious side effects reported. Compare that to the side effects of donepezil, which can include nausea, diarrhea, insomnia, muscle cramps, fatigue, and loss of appetite, or the side effects of other popular brain supplements, digestive issues, headaches, insomnia, and even dangerous interactions with blood thinners. Walnuts have one side effect. You might need to adjust your calorie intake a little bit because 1 ounce of walnuts has about 185 calories. So, if you're watching your weight, just reduce the other fats in your diet by the same amount. And that's it. That's the whole safety profile. Now here's my challenge to you. Try this for 90 days. A handful of walnuts every morning with your breakfast. Track your memory, your focus, your mental clarity. Just keep a simple journal. Write down 1 sentence each day, describing how you feel cognitively. And after those 90 days, read back through your entries and see if you notice any patterns. Susan Chen did this. Robert Martinez did this. Linda Kowalski did this. James Patterson's son did this for him. And every single one of them saw measurable improvement, not in 2 weeks, not in a month, but by day 60 to 90, the changes were undeniable. And here's the beautiful part. Even if walnuts only work half as well for you as they worked for them, you're still getting better results than that $67 brain supplement, and you're saving over $700 a year. The downside risk is 0. The upside potential is life-changing. So start tomorrow morning. Buy walnuts today. Put a handful of walnuts in a small container, right next to your breakfast plate. Eat them first thing, before coffee, before anything else. Make it a ritual, make it automatic, make it non-negotiable. And 90 days from now, come back to this video and leave another comment, telling me what happened. Tell me if your memory improved. Tell me if you're still wasting money on pills, or if you switched to walnuts. Your testimony could be the thing that convinces someone else to try this. Your results become part of the evidence that the pharmaceutical industry can't suppress. We're building a public record, 1 comment at a time, proving that food works better than pills, that nature outperforms patents, and that the most powerful medicine for your brain costs $2 a month and grows on trees. The pharmaceutical industry spent $29.6 billion last year trying to convince you otherwise, and they'll spend even more next year, but they can't stop you from sharing this video. They can't stop you from buying walnuts. They can't stop you from taking control of your own cognitive health. You have the information now. You have the studies, you have the protocol, you have the case studies. What you do next is entirely up to you. Final medical disclaimer. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not intended as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. The information presented about walnuts and cognitive function is based on published scientific research, but individual results may vary significantly. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or cognitive decline. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of information presented in this video. If you are currently taking prescription medications for cognitive function or any other condition, do not stop or alter your medication regimen without explicit approval from your healthcare provider. The case studies mentioned in this video represent individual experiences and are not guarantees of results. Cognitive decline can be a symptom of serious underlying medical conditions that require professional diagnosis and treatment. Walnuts are a food, not a medicine, and should not be used as a replacement for medical care. If you experience worsening cognitive symptoms, confusion, or any concerning neurological changes, seek immediate medical attention.